There are so many things to consider when it comes to selling and delivering our offers. Setting up the perfect sales page, payment system, and course platform are all things that can feel like massive hurdles that can get in the way of simply selling what it is that you do. What if you did it all imperfectly without all of that stuff in place and you just got out there and sold your offer without the bells and whistles? That is what today's episode is all about. Welcome to the Soulful Sales Show, where we talk about believing in the value of your offers, getting them in front of your right people, and selling more of what you do in your unique way. Hi, and welcome back to the Soulful Sales Show. We have another episode of the Soulful Selling Stories series. I really loved this chat that I'm about to share because it speaks to what a whole lot of people get hung up with, especially in the earlier days of selling their offers, and that is finding the perfect tech to get everything set up and ready to sell. Behm shares how she followed an intuitive nudge and did it all, set up the offer, sold the offer successfully without all of that right stuff in place. And she also talks about how she sells from a place of not being the expert, but being on the journey alongside her right people, which I really, really loved. Before we dive in, let me share with you Dawn's official bio. Dawn Behm at Heart Nature is focused on changing our world through first tending our relationship with ourselves. As a neurodivergent ADHD mum raising two challenging, twice exceptional humans, Dawn's toolbox is deep and wide, full of humor, fierce gentleness, deep compassionate listening, and principles from internal family systems and nervous system regulation. Dawn expertly guides women who feel lost, overwhelmed, or stuck. Individually or in a safe group container, they learn to access their own hidden wealth of resilience. With this inner resourcing, they find more freedom, strength, and joy while navigating whatever life brings their way. Certified as a Wayfinder life coach, essential emotions coach, and ICF ACC credentialed, Dawn helps clients make peace with themselves and become resilient and empowered to shine their lights brightly in the world. This chat with Dawn just felt so positive, so reassuring, so empowering if you're getting stuck on the details, and it's just the perfect reminder to tune in to what your heart and your intuition are telling you to do. So I know that it will speak to you no matter where you are currently at in your business. Can you start by sharing a little bit about your business journey and what you do?
I started my business journey kind of unexpectedly. I was a homeschool mom, a teacher before that. And I kind of fell in love with essential oils, and our home needed a second kind of income. And so I began sharing how they were helping me and wound up within 4 years starting to go all around the world, teaching people about essential oil usage, about nervous system regulation, and help other people start their businesses. So that was like phase one of Dawn as a business person. Knew nothing about business or marketing or sales, just sharing things that were working for me. My son in his teen years, I started that when he was about 10. So in his teen years, he started to have severe mental crises. And I was starting to discover that I was actually making it worse because I was reactive and I didn't know how to help him. And so I started another journey of coaching and being coached and getting help from my own self so that I could show up differently for my family. And that's how I discovered self-compassion and coaching and all sorts of modalities that really help us show up in the way we want to. And I had a real heart for other women, other moms who also needed this. And so I kind of moved into coaching and creating containers and allowing women to really work with this. And so it's been like a multi-stage journey, and I'm in that phase of just continuing to grow with that. It's really like your life becomes your message, and the gifts along the way become the gifts you have to offer others, for me.
I love that perspective so much. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so let's dive into your soulful selling story. And the story you put forward to me was about how you launched your offer imperfectly before you had it all figured out, which I think will be music to a lot of people's ears. Um, People who are maybe overthinking the tech setup and the platform and all of these things. Can you talk a little bit more um, about how you tuned into this offer and you decided just to kind of launch it before all of that stuff was ready?
Okay, so part of how I'm wired, and I believe probably all of us are wired this way to some degree, is that I get a surge of energy when it feels right, when there's just something, an idea that like, it's like, this has to be done. And I had been working in certain things in my own life and realized that I needed to continue to up level and grow in this area around being an under earner and having scarcity mindset and really changing that. And I knew a lot of other women in my situation needed that as well. And I just felt like I need to put this out there. There was a book that I read, it had 5 steps and they had lots of amazing exercises. I'm like, we need to do this together. And I know that my skill set is to be able to facilitate a group coaching and help people feel safe to do hard things. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I was at a point where I was looking at Kajabi and Social Fox and Squarespace and trying to figure out like what kind of platform to do a course. And like, it was just, my mind was a crazy mess with it. And so I was like, you know what? This needs to happen now. So I'm just going to create a little blurb about why I'm the right person for this, another blurb about who this is for, and then I'm going to invite people to pay me money and do this with me. I just put it out on Facebook. I sent it in Messenger or text to the people in my life that I felt like this would be really good for. And I had 8 people sign up, ready to plunk their money down and do it. And that's how I started. And I was like, okay, I'm going to send out a weekly email with the details of the homework, maybe resources, and we're going to have a Zoom call. And that was it. And I was like, we're going to see what happens. But I felt this full body yes. And when I have that, then everything works out. And what was fascinating to me is I didn't know what each person was going to get out of it. We had people in the group who were under the poverty line and people who were extremely wealthy, people who were running business and other people who weren't. And yet at the end, one thing I learned from Marie Forleo was to do a exit interview and really ask people what they got out of it, what they would change, especially if this was like my beta version. And I was shocked at how many people were like, this was life transforming. And I knew it wasn't me. It wasn't like I figured it all out. It was, I answered the call and I showed up with the resources I had.
Amazing. I love that so much. You answered the call. And I think a lot of us can relate to having that intuitive feeling, like knowing that we got to do something. But oftentimes the brain gets in the way before we actually go about it. Did you have any of that coming up for you?
That's a great question. I had that come up as I got started. I really feel like for some reason it was super solid, this one particular thing. But of course I second guessed myself and I was like, am I meeting their needs? Like, how do I know like if everybody's being served? Because there's that part of me that wants everyone to have the best experience. And then that other part of me that knows that that's not my responsibility. That's between them and the divine or whatever, and that I can just bring what I'm called to bring. Um, I think now because it went so well, people asked to come back again and wanted to invite their friends. And I'm trying to build it. I'm building it out, not trying to, I'm building it out on Squarespace. And I get some of that like second guessing myself and like, is this going to work this time around or was it a one-off thing? But the only way to find these things out is to just take the plunge and do it. And so that's how I'm rolling with it.
So true. It's so funny, isn't it? How a lot of us get scared before we've even started, or if we've done it once before and it actually worked really well, we can get scared again the next time. I mean, our brains are funny, right?
Totally, totally.
You said that you delivered the program in a very simple way. How did you go about
Mhm.
selling the program based on this intuitive nudge that you had?
I literally wrote out what came up in my heart, why I felt like I was the one to do this because of my background and the things I had struggled with. And also, I positioned myself honestly as I'm not the expert. I'm walking this path with you. I may be a few steps ahead because 10 years ago I did this work, and now I realize it's up for me again and I need to up level. And so it also in the reflections that people at the end of the course, they said that that was a really helpful thing for them, that they knew that I was in there with them. I was, a couple steps ahead, but I wasn't like the judge or the guru that they had to please, or, that I knew it all and they didn't. And so it created a container of safety and growth for us all.
I love that so much. And I think actually that's the power of creating from your heart because when you are really
Mhm.
connected and open-hearted about it, you don't actually feel the need to come off as an expert and prove yourself.
Mhm.
A
Yeah,
lot of that
yeah.
comes from the fears, the ego. I've
Mhm.
definitely had this experience myself. There's been times when there's just something not quite right about the way I'm showing up in marketing or
Mhm.
selling or delivering. And when I actually open up my heart, I think, you know what, it's okay. It's actually okay not to be the expert.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's so powerful and it gives people permission as well to see their own capacity and their own brilliance because they're seeing you show up that way too.
Mm. Yeah. So, what did it teach you going through this process, following your intuition? You put it out there in a very simple way, you delivered it in a simple way, and then you got, I mean, firstly, you sold the spaces, and secondly, you
Mhm.
got great feedback from running it. What did this experience teach you going forward?
I think the thing it taught me the most, oh, this just feels so good as I think about it, I feel it in my whole body, is that I don't have to manage and control it all. That I don't know what the outcomes are going to be for somebody else. I don't know even where each session is going to necessarily go. I get to show up in this playground with them and trust that the universe is bringing what it need, what these people need, and what I need, and that we're co-creating something together. There's just this. Um, there's. I think there's a bit of or a lot of freedom in humility, which is different than I don't have anything to share. It's this I'm coming open to with what I have and ready to respond to what's here. Um, and I think at the end, the feedback surprised me so much because I didn't have these outcomes planned for people. I didn't, you know, make it happen. And so it's teaching me that as I create other things, it's not my job to make sure that it's going to have all this outcome or whatever. It's just to tune in and bring what's there. Because if it's feeding me and I'm growing, then chances are other people are going to as well.
Oh my goodness. I love what you said. And you started that by saying, this feels so good. And it felt so good to me
Yeah.
too. It's just like, what a relief. Like to have
Yes.
this level of trust and
Yeah.
just, yeah, like amazing, amazing. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you
Mhm.
just one more question before we wrap up. And that is, what has been your biggest win, lesson, or mindset shift since being part of the Soulful Sales Society membership?
Hmm. Biggest win, or I think that my biggest mm, gratitude is that there's this space that you've created there of people who think like me, who show up in business like me, who are going at their own pace in their own way and acknowledging our, mm, I hesitate to use the word limitation,
Mm,
but as humans, we're limited in time, energy, focus, different things. And it doesn't mean we can't do things. It means we need to do them in a way that's aligned, that works for us, that may look crazy to people who are not us. And so I think that permission to continue to show up as myself and really tune into what I need to be doing in my business instead of looking over here at this person or that person and what they're doing and how they're showing up. I mean, I have friends who are entrepreneurs that were engineers beforehand, and they're like, they have all these amazing things that I'm like, oh, I can't do that. But that doesn't mean that I'm not cut out for this. And I think your Soulful Sales Society, the summit that I attended was like coming home. And I felt like the different people who spoke, they all had these little different skill sets and tools that I knew I needed. And that okay, now I have a person who gets me and has the resourcing I need. So even if I haven't accessed them all quite yet, I know that they're there and I'm connected to them, I'm connected to you. And I feel like it's a place, again, like I love that word playground, where we get to play and grow together. And that just feels really good. Maybe that's a little laundry of an answer, but that's kind of, what's there for me.
It's a beautiful answer and it means so much to me. It really does. It's it really actually speaks to what you were sharing earlier as well. And just like the importance of following your intuition, your way of doing things, and not trying to force yourself to deliver the set outcomes. Like, absolutely, in the marketing, we talk about the outcomes and positioning, all of that stuff. But ultimately, what it comes down to is a lot of self-trust in your own way and the right people coming together and resonating with that. So that's really what is present for me as you were sharing all of that. So thank you. Okay, and where can people go to find out more about you and your work?
Okay, so I'm going to put a caveat out there that as I'm creating, my website is majorly under construction. So don't judge me. It is heartnature.life. And I am having fun in that playground, making it. I'm creating some different containers for women to come together, as well as individual coaching. And I have a little gift for everyone. I'm going to make sure that it works and you're able to get it. That's my task for the day. And I think you are going to drop the link in there. So it's a combination of a little thing I call BOP, helping regulate our nervous system when we start to freak out about things. And then a little snippet video to meet and befriend the under earner in us, the one that gets scared about our success. And so that's my little free gift to each person out here. You can also find me on Facebook, just Dawn Behm, and Instagram, probably the same. I'm not on there a ton, but I am excited to continue to connect and grow with other women and see where that takes us all.
Thank you so much. I'll make sure those links are in the show notes. And hey, like the website under construction, it's just proof of, how it gets to work, even if you have a construction website.
Right.
So I love that.
Yeah. We just show up as we are.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Soulful Sales. If you have a moment to rate and review, know that it really does make a difference. And if you'd like to carry on the conversation, then you can connect with me on Instagram at Ruth Poundwhite, sign up to my newsletter at ruthpoundwhite.com/newsletter, or my personal favorite, join me inside the low ticket membership at ruthpoundwhite.com/membership. And keep doing what you're doing, because your work really does matter.